Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sky Observers Hangout. We hope you're doing okay today. There we go. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle, and I'm the Director of Public Observing at the Adler Planetarium in Chicago, and I have a friend with me here today.
It's me. I'm Adriana, and I am the astronomy educator at the Adler. And I'm excited to be here with you all tonight. I'm seeing you all saying hello in the chat. So joining us behind the scenes as well is our YouTube chat moderator, Robert. Hi, Robert. And also in the chat is our astronomer friend, Geza. So if you see, or Dr. Geza Juke, to be professional about it. If you see a name with a blue wrench next to it in the chat, that's Geza helping us by answering your questions and your comments.
Yep, and we are so glad to have Robert and Geza with us. Now, Sky Observers Hangout is a place for us to gather to completely nerd out about the sky. We're so glad you're with us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you've been here many times, welcome back. Our goal is to give you practical tips that you can find useful about lots of things related to sky observing. And if you want to just watch us, that's cool, but we would love to see your questions and comments and observations in the chat. So feel free to interact with us and with each other.
Absolutely. And to go ahead and get this chat started, tell us where you are tuning in from. I know some people have already started. And if you want to share a little bit more for a bonus, tell us what your favorite thing about winter is.
We're going to tell you what our favorite things are in just a second. Now, while the Adler Planetarium's doors are temporarily closed for guests, our work in sharing the sky with you continues. If you have the means, please consider donating to support the work that we do so we can keep creating content to help share our universe with you. Even $1 or $2 will help. No amount is too small. And thank you so much for helping us to bring our out of this world content to you.
Yes. You can also help us get more visibility for our shows by hitting subscribe for the Adler Planetarium's YouTube channel right below this video. And if you like us, you can give us a thumbs up too. So let's go ahead and take a look to see where you guys are tuning in from and see if anybody has shared a few favorite things about winter yet. We've got folks from Mokina, Illinois. Hi, Bob. We've got friends from St. Cloud, Minnesota, from Southeast Texas, from Huntley, Illinois, from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us from all over the place tonight. It's exciting to see people from everywhere joining us.
Yeah, I saw someone from Maryland in there. We got Avery and Brent from Maryland. Hi, guys. So
hi.
Great to see you all virtually. So anybody else you want to say hi to?
John Hampton, I feel like I've seen your name before, but thanks for joining us again. And Steve Cosgrove. Hi, Steve. I'm John. All right. So glad everybody's here with us tonight. I've got a question for you, Michelle. Do you have any favorite things about winter?
I do. My very first favorite thing, this is not a prop mug. This is hot chocolate. Hot chocolate is one of my very favorite things about winter. I don't drink it in the summer because that would be weird. No, this is excellent hot chocolate. I also like cross-country skiing if there's enough snow. Cool. And also, of course, all the holiday lights. So those are my favorite things about winter. How about you?
Also a fan of holiday lights. Ice skating, though I'm terrible at it. So if you had seen me trying it, you would not think that it is one of my favorite things, but something about it is just so much fun. I also have celebratory hot chocolate. We came with a penguin themed mug today. And I am also a fan of using the winter as an opportunity to observe. Basically, if it's going to be so dark so much of the time, we might as well use that as an opportunity to take a look up at the winter sky. And there's so much to see in it too.
There is, and it's cold. And Adriana, what's the coldest temperature you've ever observed the sky in? What do you think?
It was in the single digits. It was the wind. The wind chill is really what got me though. So probably like about 10 degrees.
I would say for me, it's about 10 below. Yeah.
You are braver than I am.
Hey, anybody else? Can anybody else beat 10 below in the chat? Tell us if you can. If you do, we will give a cheers to you. Winter brings us the longest nights of the year. So I know that we love the sun, but we love to observe the sky. So it's a great time to take advantage of those long nights and connect with your night sky. So let's get into this, and we are going to talk about what folks can look for in the sky this winter. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to bring up a resource that we love to show here at Sky Observers Hangout. And I need to quick double check one thing. Wait a minute. Hang on. Hang on. Talk amongst yourselves for just a second. I need to switch my screen here. And then now I can try to share my screen.
No problem.
And
I am noticing that somebody is saying happy birthday to Brenton, and I don't know who you are, Brenton, or if it's your birthday and I just missed it, but happy birthday. Oh my God, it is. Happy
happy
birthday.
birthday. Wonderful. I think that might be our first happy birthday for Sky Observers Hangout. So, hey, happy birthday. Anybody else have a birthday today? Tell us, let us know. All right. So, I have brought up a resource that we love to use here at Sky Observers Hangout. This is Stellarium. And the web address is stellarium-web.org. Or you can just go to stellarium.org and look for the free web version link up on, I think it's in the upper right of the screen. We love Stellarium because it's free. You can go online, you can check out Stellarium and see what's up in the night sky, either tonight, in the past, in the future. Now, because there's so much to talk about, we're going to break it down first to constellations. We're going to start there. Do you all have a favorite constellation? Tell us that in the chat. So who can beat 10 below for observing? And tell us if you have a favorite constellation. I like to start with one that I know is relatively easy to find so that we can use that to our advantage. And I'm going to bring up some artwork here. Look at that. Oh, that's cool. I'm going to turn it off for just a second. So, hey, who do we have here? Or Adriana, who's this? Who do I have in front of us?
Orion.
Who's Orion?
So Orion is supposed to be a hunter. That is actually the first constellation I ever learned to find as a kid. It's got some pretty bright stars, which makes it a little bit easier. And it's got that distinctive shape with the 3 stars at the center that are supposed to make up Orion's belt. Why a belt? You might be wondering. He's a hunter, so maybe he uses it to hold his sword. I don't know. All of this is imagination.
Well, he's holding a sword knife kind of thing, maybe? Anyway, so that belt holds up his sword, which is this trail of stars right here. So we've got the 3 stars of his belt, and we've got the sword stars right here. They're a little bit dimmer. And then where this kind of oval shape is, actually, I think I can zoom in just a bit. There we go. Where that oval shape is the Orion Nebula. It's a cloud of gas and dust in space where stars are forming. It's one of the brightest nebulae in the sky. So we're able to see it from Chicago with small telescopes despite the light pollution. And I bet it even looks better further from city lights. And actually, I know it looks better further from city lights. So yeah, that is the cool thing about Orion's belt. Now we're starting here at Orion because the stars of Orion we can use to help find other constellations pretty easily using a technique we call star hopping. It's a great technique to get to know if you're kind of new to astronomy and sky observing with just your eyes. Using star hopping as a technique can be really helpful, and it is just exactly what it sounds like. So star hopping means using brighter stars to help find your way to dimmer stuff, then stuff that might be a little bit harder to find. And so you want to find the stars of Orion, and they pretty much draw a line. It's not quite a straight line, but close enough. I'm going to back up, and I'm going to go up just a little bit. So we're going to draw a line between these stars and go upward to this star right here. Who do we have here?
It's Taurus.
Woo!
So Taurus is supposed to be a bull. You can tell because he's got 2 horns. So the bright orange star in the face of the bull is called Aldebaran. That is supposed to be the eye of the bull. if you compare its color to some of the other bright stars when you're observing, you'll be able to notice a distinguishable difference in color, especially compared to stars in Orion, for example, where you've got like bluer and redder stars. So just a note, winter is a great time for observing different star colors because the stars are so bright, and that makes it easier to notice the differences in their color. Now, if you keep following that path that Michelle pointed out from Orion's belt up, you eventually get to a small bright cluster of stars called the Pleiades.
Right.
Michelle
This
can
is
tell us
also
more.
known as the Seven Sisters, and I'm zooming in. Now, it's a small cluster of stars that's visible to the naked eye. I've been able to see it with the naked eye from downtown Chicago. It helps to be looking out over the lake if you're from the Chicago area, and looking out over the lake can be a little darker. So that helps to find it. I've seen it from other places in the city. It's just a lot harder to find. When you're farther removed from the city, out in the suburbs, it's definitely easy to find. Now, some people supposedly used to use the Pleiades as an eye chart. So you can see generally maybe 6 stars. Some people can see up to 14, depending on your eyesight. Now, it's most fun with binoculars. And as you zoom in on Stellarium, you can start to see what your view might look like using binoculars without all the words and labels and things in the sky. Those aren't real. Anyway, so now we're going to zoom back out. So all this stuff is so easy to find using star hopping, using the belt of Taurus, of Orion, the hunter, up to Taurus, up to the face, and you keep going up and you get to the Pleiades. Now we're going to go forward in time a little bit, and we're going to make it 11 o'clock. So I had the sky set for tonight at 7:40. So we're going to go forward to about 11 o'clock. So I'm going to go. Adriana, would you like exactly 11 or thereabouts?
Approximately 11 is fine. We just need our next friend to have risen.
You got it. All right. So I'm going to.
While you are doing that too, I'm going to check out some of these comments. Steve says he thought Orion was holding a bow and arrow, not an animal. So that's the fun thing about constellations. There are a lot of different interpretations of what they look like, and a lot of different interpretations of what stories those pictures might be trying to tell. So in some stories, he was holding a bow and arrow. In some stories, he's holding a shield and a club in one hand. In some stories, he is holding the skin of a lion that he has killed. So I think that's the interpretation that we actually saw here in Stellarium. I prefer, though, Pat from Illinois, your interpretation, which says that it looks like turkey legs on his shield. Maybe it is. Why not?
Wait a minute. Why
not?
Oh, it could be. That's funny. That's good. Good time of year for that.
He brought a shield and a snack. So awesome. One more question. Which app did she reference? We're talking about Stellarium. So it's online, stellarium-web.org, right, Michelle?
Yep, and I'm going to go drop myself into the chat real quick. Give me just a second, and I'm going to see, as long as I don't mess up Zoom. Hang on, I'm going to throw it in the chat in just a second. Wait a minute. There you go. I just put it in the chat, and I hope you all can still see Stellarium. So, all right.
I can.
Okay, cool. Go for it.
All right.
All right.
So we are taking the 3 stars of Orion's belt to the left this time, or a little bit down this time, to our friend Canis Major. So that's where that bright star is. For the dog lovers out there, the constellation Canis Major translates to the great dog. So you can think Canis, kind of like canine, if that helps you remember it.
Yep.
This constellation includes the brightest star in Earth's night sky. That is Sirius, the dog star. Seriously, I'm not kidding. Okay.
Oh.
Now,
those of you who are new to Sky Observers Hangout, Adriana is the queen of astro puns. And I know there are several of you out there who can do it too, but she is the queen in our little circle here. So anyway, go ahead.
All right. If you don't want to stay up until 11 o'clock at night to see this, don't worry. you will not have to. So these constellations will all get higher in the sky as we get further and further into the winter. So you'll be able to see them earlier in the evening. Just keep going out periodically in December and January at around the same time of night, and you'll see that the stars will keep climbing and getting higher in the sky.
Yep.
All right.
And
so we've got Canis Major, and then
yep. And these constellations have stars that can help make up something that is sometimes called the winter circle. So that is made up of some of these brightest stars that you're going to see in basically any season. We've got quite a few, and we're going to actually make a big circle in the sky using all of these. I'm going to try to arrange stellarium so you can see that. There we go. Okay, so we've got Sirius here in Canis Major. I'm going to zoom in. There we go. You can see the names. Then if you go to the left, we have Procyon. All right, and keep going to the left, we have Pollux. Procyon is in the constellation of Canis Minor, the little dog. Don't ask me why it doesn't put a label for Canis Minor. Poor little guy. So we've got Pollux and Castor in Gemini. And then I'll back out a little bit. We've got this one right up here. We've got Capella in the constellation Auriga. And you keep going over here. We've got Aldebaran, which is in Taurus. And we have Rigel right here in Orion, and then back to Procyon, and kind of the dot in the middle of the circle, that's Betelgeuse. That is one of Orion's shoulders. So we've got quite a few of some of the brightest stars in any season in the sky here in the wintertime sky. And they're easy to find, and they're really fun to try to spot all of those.
Excellent. Geza refers to it as the winter G.
Yes, actually it is. If you
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, if you start with Betelgeuse. Yeah. So I'm going to back out because you won't see the names, but yeah, here's the G. We've got Betelgeuse, Rigel, Sirius, Procyon, Pollux, Castor, Capella is up at the top, and then back to Aldebaran. So yes, we have the letter G for Geza. We love Geza. Hi, Geza. All right. So anything else we want to bring up with our neat wintertime constellations here?
Yes. Can we have planets? Now that we've talked about constellations.
We sure can. All right. So I'm going to go back in time. All right. So we did, let's see, I'm going to go to about 6 o'clock.
I love this casual time travel.
I know, you can go backwards and forwards in time. So this was the sky, it was cloudy here in the Chicago area, but this is the sky at about 6 o'clock and slightly earlier over the next several weeks. So this is not all throughout the winter. This will be for several weeks. If you go out after sunset and you face to the southwest, you probably have seen these two rather bright objects. The brighter one to the lower right is Jupiter, and up to the upper left of Jupiter is Saturn, a little bit dimmer. They're in the early evening for now. They're going to be, each night, they're going to be a little bit lower in the sky. And coming up on December 21st is a special occurrence that has not been seen on Earth for about 400 years. And actually 400 years ago, it wasn't really even that visible. So you're going to see something on December 21st or thereabouts that really hasn't been seen easily in about 800 years. And that is Jupiter and Saturn getting closer together in the sky. We're not going to cover that tonight because our show on December 21st at a special time, 5 o'clock, the Jupiter and Saturn Great Conjunction. This is very special. Jupiter, Saturn, Great Conjunction, 5 o'clock Central on December 21st, Sky Observers Hangout special time. We're going to be live when you can see this in the night sky. That'll be the date that you'll be able to do that. So Jupiter and Saturn are up in the early evening for now. They're going to be slowly disappearing toward the west as the month of December goes on. Then we have up in the southeast, we have very bright Mars still. It's very orange. Have you seen it, Adriana? Have you been seeing our friend Mars?
Just a few nights ago. Yeah, it's pretty high in the sky.
Nice.
And also still pretty bright.
Yep, definitely. And then I'm going to go forward in time to the morning. So we'll see what the sky looks like in the morning. And 2, 3. If I click it, there we go. We have Venus. So about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, we have Venus in the southeastern sky. So right before sunrise. If you've been out and you've been wondering what that really, really bright thing is, that's Venus. You're going to see it for several weeks longer. So go out and find that if you happen to be up. So there you go. We've got planets. Jupiter, Saturn for a few more weeks. Mars definitely for many more months. And then Venus in the morning before sunrise. Cool.
Awesome. So we've talked about a lot of stuff here that you can go ahead and take a look at. Remember to use Orion as kind of the signpost to figure out how you can find all this stuff in the sky as for the constellations. So star hopping will help you do that. You can also use Stellarium. Link is in the chat. And all of this stuff is going to be visible basically with the naked eye, right, Michelle?
Yep, exactly. So the Pleiades you'll see with the naked eye. And actually the face of Taurus the bull, that's another star cluster. It's more spread out. That's called the Hyades. It's not really you could say impressive like the Pleiades. It's not as compact. Those stars have definitely spread out a bit, but that is another star cluster that you can see in the sky. So Taurus has 2 star clusters for us to enjoy. So yeah, we've got our planets, we've got our constellations, we've got some star clusters, all visible with no telescope required.
Awesome. So there is one more story that I was hoping to share tonight about Sirius, the dog star, which we spoke about before. And I wanted to share that with you guys because it has a special connection to Chicago and to the Adler Planetarium collections. So Sirius, that really bright star, is not a lone star, but rather a binary star system. So that means there are 2 stars in orbit around each other, which makes sense when you think about it, because dogs do travel in packs.
Oh.
I'm so sorry, Michelle.
Wow.
Now,
okay, go ahead.
What does this have to do with Chicago and the Adler? Sirius B, the companion star to Sirius A, was first observed by the lens made for a Chicago telescope in the winter of 1862, while they were actually testing that lens. So Michelle is going to show us a little bit more on one of these slides. If you can go ahead and switch, Michelle.
I think it should have switched, I hope.
Yeah, we're seeing
Excellent.
it. So that lens was for the Dearborn telescope, which is an 18.5-inch refracting telescope. Refracting just means that it's a telescope that uses lenses. Michelle, you can go ahead and switch. So in the late 1860s, the Dearborn telescope was the biggest telescope in the US and one of the biggest refracting telescopes in the world. It was established by the Chicago Astronomical Association, and it was housed at the Old University of Chicago. So you can see that the telescope was even pictured on the Chicago Astronomical Association's membership certificate, as you can see.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, you can go ahead and switch.
Yep.
So we can see where we can see it now. You can see the original tube and mounting of the telescope on display at the Adler Planetarium, once we reopen, of course. But for now, we've got these pictures to tide you over. It is the largest telescope in our collection. Now, we don't have the lens of the telescope still actually inside the telescope because that lens is still in use at the Dearborn Observatory, which is now at Northwestern University. They will also continue holding regular Friday night observing sessions through that telescope when they're able to safely reopen. So sit tight. But my favorite part of this story is that the companion to the dog star, Sirius B, has been nicknamed the pup.
Oh. Wow.
It's cute.
Is that true? Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So when you go out this winter to check out the brightest star in our sky, know that it's not alone. It's got a pup alongside it. And that discovery was made with the lens of the Dearborn telescope, which we still have here in the Chicago area.
Yep.
So now that we've gone through some story time, I've got some questions that I'm seeing here, Michelle. Let's
Go for
ahead
it. Bring it on. I love questions. That gives me a
and-
chance to take another sip of my hot chocolate.
Yes. Does anyone have suggestions for decent telescopes to see more? Do we? We have an entire Sky Observers Hangout episode exactly about that. I think it's called How to Choose a Telescope. It is one of the last episodes that we did. So if you go to our YouTube channel, there should be more information there.
It was November 9th, and it features, let's see, this telescope right here, right behind me. It features this telescope right here. So, and several others. So we had several of our telescope volunteers come on the show with us, and we talked about choosing a telescope. But to answer your question really in a compact way, it kind of depends on who you're getting the telescope for. So we have a lot of variations in that show. But if you really just want I just want an answer to this question right now, this one right here. This is an Orion 6-inch Dobsonian mount reflector telescope. This is what we use for scopes in the city. You'll see this is actually one of our scopes in the city telescopes. This is what we take out when we go out into the community and when it's safe to observe. These things are portable. They're crazy easy to set up. They're robust. They can handle being put in the back of the Adler Planetarium van, and we can move them around. So we both really, really like this telescope. It's not motorized, mechanical, anything. This is a completely mechanical telescope, no computers. So it's inexpensive. So we like this one. So, but we feature a lot of others on that particular show. So November 9th, Sky Observers Hangout. It's about an hour of all sorts of different pros and cons to lots of different telescopes.
Yes, there's also an episode specifically about binoculars if you are interested in starting somewhere a little bit easier before getting a telescope.
Yep.
So check that out as well. We also have What Direction Are the Pleiades in?
It depends on what date and time. So let me go back to Stellarium. Give me a second.
No problem.
And I'll show you how that changes over time. Okay, so I've got Stellarium set. Actually, I'm going to go back to right now. There we go. All right. So right now, from Chicago, from where we are in the central time zone, the Pleiades are pretty much due east. And so, but over time, we're going to see these constellations in the early evening higher and higher in the sky. So you'll see them earlier. And so let me go forward by date. I'm going to go forward by month. So there we go. You can see in a month how the orientation has changed a little bit. Let me do it again. So this is end of January. And now look, we've got Orion almost due south at about 7:30 at night. And notice we've got Orion's belt upward toward the west. And that'll get you to the Pleiades. Again, it's more about the orientation than the direction, because remember, directions will change depending on the date and the time you're looking. Use Orion as your signpost, as your star hopper, and that will help you find it. So just remember, Orion's belt points toward Aldebaran and then the Pleiades, all right? Or downward the other direction to Sirius. So there you go.
Right. I'm seeing one more question here that I want to touch on. Avery, 8 years old. Hi, Avery. Are there any other planets that you can see during the winter besides Saturn, Venus, and Jupiter? We did talk very briefly about Mars as well. Just in case you missed that, it is going to be pretty bright in the sky. Aside from that, not with the naked eye, right, Michelle? You're going to need a telescope if you want to see anything else.
Yeah, so Venus will be visible for a while longer. Mars definitely for quite a while. It'll get dimmer. We're getting farther away from it, but it'll be visible. Jupiter and Saturn in about January are both going to be too close to the sun to see, but then starting in, I may get the exact month wrong. It may be February or March, somewhere around there. Those will transition back to being morning objects, visible just before sunrise. So the short answer is yes, but those planets are going to become morning objects at that point. So we're getting the last of them in the early evening. We'll still have Mars, and then we'll have Jupiter and Saturn back in the morning in a few more months.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm not seeing any more immediate questions. All right, Michelle, do you want to keep us rolling?
Yes, absolutely. So we've shown you some cool information. We'll hope we've shown you some stuff that you didn't know. Maybe you're going to go check out Stellarium at some point. And so what we want to go to next is we've got one more thing to offer. If you want to capture and share the beauty of our winter sky, to share with people. So people are often wanting to see what they've got in the sky. And these days it's all about the gram, right? We got to share the photos. Did I use that phrase correctly, Adriana?
You did. I'm so proud
Thank
of
you.
you,
I'm so proud of
Michelle.
myself. Anyway, it can be as easy as pulling out your smartphone or your DSLR camera. So yeah, we've done this before, haven't we?
Yes, we have. So we touched on this in the previous fall sky episode, but this time of year is even better for attempting your own astrophotography, right, Michelle?
Yes, absolutely. The stars in the winter are especially bright. And so that makes it easier for your phone's camera to pick up the light from those winter starry skies.
Excellent. So could you give us a quick refresher on how to do it?
Absolutely. So I have an iPhone, and actually Adriana and I both have iPhones. So that makes it a little tougher sometimes when we want to talk about the variations that are available for phones. Because we have the same phone, we can only tell you about what will work on our phone. So on our phones, the app called Camera Plus, so the word camera and then the little plus sign after it. Any app that can take pictures with a longer exposure time helps. So there's a lot of them out there. You can check out the reviews for which one you might want to use. That means that these apps will, in essence, keep the shutter, quote unquote, of your camera open for longer than just a normal pressing of the button. And actually, these days the even newer iPhones are able to do some of these adjustments with the regular camera, the app that comes with the phone. So iPhone 8, I think iPhone 10, I think both have to use Camera Plus. When you're getting into like iPhone 11, that one even has the ability to keep the shutter open, so to speak, for longer because it'll detect that you're looking at a dark sky. So you want to, in essence, leave the shutter of the camera open longer because that will make the dimmer stars brighter in your image.
Great. I also know, since you were talking about other phones, that Android phones have an app called Camera FV5 that will do the same thing essentially as Camera Plus. It has the same features that you need for taking pictures with your phone.
Exactly.
So that have a longer exposure time.
Right. So what you want to do is make your camera as steady as possible. So if you have a little tripod for your phone, great. Some people have those. If you have even just a stack of books that you can put your phone onto and steady it, you don't want to hold it because you're gonna be holding the shutter open, and any shaking of your hand at all is going to make blurry images. So you can try different exposure times. Leave the shutter open for maybe a second or 2 or 5 seconds or maybe 8 seconds or 10. See what you get there. You can also play with a feature called ISO. It's a measure of light sensitivity that you can adjust to see what works best for you. For example, an ISO of 100 is twice as sensitive as an ISO of 50. So you want to try for the right combination of an ISO and shutter exposure, picture exposure time to get the image that shows up with stars on your screen. So I'm going to show you some examples.
Yes. Excited to take a peek at your handiwork.
Yes. So the picture that I have right here, this is Orion and Canis Major, taken from my front yard. I live in the western suburbs of Chicago, taken with this phone right here. And it was approximately an ISO around, I didn't write it down, it was somewhere around 100, 150. And I think the shutter time was maybe around 3 seconds, give or take. Yes, you can see there's light pollution in the image. It's not perfect, but oh my God, I took it with my phone. So that's what I want to tell you guys, that I get some of the best images of the year with my phone in the wintertime. And you can see, I think you can see my cursor. At the end of my cursor, that is the Orion Nebula. You can see it in a picture taken with my phone. How cool is
That's
that?
crazy.
Yes. But not to be outdone, we do have a picture taken with a DSLR camera. So I took this picture also with a DSLR camera with an ISO of 1600 and a shutter speed of, I want to say it was 5 seconds, I think. And I took this about a week or two ago. So you can see Orion is that same orientation that we just saw. Here is Betelgeuse, and here's Rigel right here. Got Orion's belt, and looky, there is the Orion Nebula right there. So pretty cool. It's really there, and I got it, and I was really proud of myself.
Awesome. This makes me excited to get outside and try to use my own smartphone to take pictures of Orion. So thank you for sharing your advice.
And one other quick piece of advice that I found out the hard way is sometimes when you're playing around with the settings and you take a picture and then you change the settings again and you go, oh, that wasn't quite so good. And you try to remember what you just did and you go, shoot, what was the setting? And it might reset itself. Write down your settings, write them down, write down the ISO and write down the amount of time your shutter's open so that you can go back and potentially recreate that same picture. So definitely write it down. I did that. I found that out the hard way.
Absolutely. We do have one sort of related question that I can touch on. Is there a good way to photograph the moon with a cell phone, especially Galaxy phones, so that it isn't just a pure white circle? Wow.
You want to handle this one?
Yes. The issue is that the moon is so bright. This happens to me all the time too. Literally 2 days ago, I went outside and was like, wow, the moon looks beautiful. Let me take a picture. And the entire thing is just like a glowing light bulb in the sky. What you can do is try to decrease the brightness on your phone's camera. So even your regular phone's camera app will have a setting to focus on something and then decrease the brightness of that object. Michelle's going to show you now. You've got the light bulbs in the back, right? You're going to tap
the light bulbs in the back. And if I tap on the screen, actually I have to look at this in order to do it. Whoops, hang on. Wait a minute. And I just made it so that I can't see what I'm actually doing. So hang on.
No problem. So I can speak to what we were supposed to do. Just
okay,
you have to tap on the bright object. So you're going to want to tap on the moon in your picture, or in this case, Michelle's using the light bulbs as an example. Once you tap on it, you'll get a little square with a little sun next to it. And if you drag that little sun down, you can actually decrease the brightness. That's for iPhone. If you are using Galaxy, there should be a way to slide over to the left to decrease brightness. That will help you get a better moon image. The other advice that I have for you is to try doing it not necessarily at night. So sometimes the moon is going to be up earlier in the day when the sky isn't so dark. And then the contrast between the background sky and the moon itself won't be so stark. That will mean that you'll be able to capture the moon with a little bit more detail. So try it when the moon is out, maybe in the afternoon or something like that. See if that gets you a little bit more detail in your image. It's worked better for me for sure.
If you're trying it with a DSLR camera, I actually tried this out a few days ago for the first time. So I took a picture about a week or so ago with the moon near first quarter. And I was using a shutter speed, remember with a DSLR camera, not my phone, of 1/250th of a second. I took the camera out just a couple nights ago. I needed to take a picture at 1/4000th of a second to start to see the detail on the moon, because it was a bright blob in those pictures too. So again, have to just play with the adjustments and write down your settings, and to see, and just keep trying it and see what you actually get.
Yeah, decreasing the brightness is the best advice we've got, though.
Yep.
So if you guys want a few more tips and tricks on getting pictures of constellations, we did talk about that again in our Fall Sky episode of Sky Observers Hangout. Our moderator can go ahead and give you the direct link to that part of the video in our chat. Thank you again, Robert.
And if you go out to take any pictures, we would love to see your pictures. Please tell us about them. We would love to hear about it. You can share those pictures and observations with us on our social media feeds. So we're going to bring up our social media feeds at our very last slide at the end. We'll be done in just a minute or two. But we want you to use the hashtag lookup, all one word, look up, and tag us to @Adler Planet. And so we want to see your pictures. Go out. That's your homework. We want you to give this a try and see what you get for the fall sky, or the winter sky, sorry. And we want to see that. So we would love to feature your picture in a future episode of Sky Observers Hangout. All right. Adriana, anything else before we end for tonight?
We are wrapping up. So if you've got any other questions on your heart, please go ahead and ask them. Ooh, we've got one from Ryan Vance. Yep. Michelle, I remember when you were on Chicago Tonight and mentioned how to tell the difference between a planet and a star when observing with the naked eye. Could you mention the difference again?
Yeah, the really easy rule of thumb is, and remember, a rule of thumb is not necessarily covered in every single instance, but stars twinkle, planets don't. For the most part, when the planets are really low, yeah, they're going to twinkle a little bit. But when they're high enough in the sky, stars twinkle, planets don't. And there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, a planet is an actual teeny tiny disk in the sky, whereas a star is a distant dot. I mean, it is a disk, but it is so far away that the beam of light from a planet is not affected as much by the moving air above your head. So I realize I'm pointing off in the distance. You can't see what I'm pointing at. I'm pointing in the direction that if I were out looking at Jupiter and Saturn, they are that way in my sky right here. So anyway, so that's what I'm pointing at. And so yeah, it's a general rule of thumb. So if you're not quite sure if you're looking at a planet or a star, just kind of look around and see what else might be twinkling and what might not be. So and yeah, that's my best advice for that.
Yep. My follow-up to that is also that if you use something like Stellarium or a smartphone app, you can verify that the thing that you're looking at is a planet pretty easily, just if you want to double check. Or you can record the time and the date that you're looking, and then later go back in Stellarium and put that time and date in and see the direction that you were looking at and figure out exactly what it was that you were seeing.
Yep.
Just if you want to know specifically what planet or whatever you were taking a look at.
Yep. One thing I want to mention about Stellarium is that you probably noticed the size of the circles for the planets and the bright stars and stuff. This doesn't refer to the size of the thing in the sky. It refers to the brightness. The bigger the dot on the screen, the brighter the thing is in the sky. In this case, bigness equals brightness. That's what they're trying to portray. And they do the same thing with the phone apps, like Sky Safari, and Stellarium has a phone app version, and all those other phone apps that are out there. Generally, if you see a bigger dot, that'll mean a brighter thing. And generally, these planets are going to be some of the brighter things in the sky. So Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, that sort of stuff. So
yeah. We've got one more quick note. Bonus points for finding the ISS or any other satellite. The satellites are going to kind of slowly drift across the sky, and that's the thing that most quickly will help you identify that it's a satellite, honestly. It looks kind of like a star that's very slowly moving across the sky. So we've also got a link, spotthestation.nasa.gov and heavensabove.com, so you can figure out when satellites are going to be up, and that'll help you identify again specifically what you're looking at.
I just put those in there. So those are my Those are my resources, and I know lots of other people are fans of both of those. So spotthestation.nasa.gov is great for finding the International Space Station, but Heavens Above is also great because it has not only the space station in it, but it had to be able to find it, but also several other satellites. And for a while there, they were also including the Starlink satellites that were sent up. I haven't checked to see if they're still in there, but that's one way also to potentially find those too. So there you go.
Great. And Michelle, one more. Do you know of any resources for indigenous astronomy? I would have to think more about that.
I'd have to think about it because we want to make sure it is a resource that's paying proper respect to the information that's provided. It isn't just a storybook or anything like that, because that tends to take the information out of context. So I'd have to think about it. I know that there is there's a lady by the name of Annette Lee who is very well known in that realm in terms of getting that information out. I don't know a lot about her work. I know one of our colleagues is in touch with her, and so are you looking up her name? Did I hear you typing? So
yeah, you did.
I thought so.
Yeah, she's got a website, so that seems like a good place to start doing a little bit of research.
Yes, and there's another person. Oh shoot, I'm blanking, and blanking as to the name. The Indigenous Education Institute. Yes, the Indigenous Education Institute. I'm going to get their website, and you can start there as well. Indigenouseducation.org. Let me throw that into the chat for y'all.
Great.
There we go.
And Annette Lee's website is just annettelee.com. So there should be more information there too. Also, Braiding Sweetgrass is on my bookshelf waiting to be read. So that gives me another reason to read it. Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
All right. I think that's all of the questions we've got for tonight.
Excellent. Well, this was a lot of fun. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. We certainly did. Adriana, did you have fun?
I did very much.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, all right, friends, we hope you will use these hours of darkness to be able to explore your wintertime sky. We hope we've given you some good tools to be able to explore and figure out what you're looking at. We hope we've given you some ideas for maybe a way to record some of this information through your smartphone or a DSLR camera. If you want to know more about these topics, we'd love to hear more about that. So we will also be with you in spirit, looking up at these same stars. Thank you so much for supporting our programming. We're so happy to share this time with you every few weeks and hear your questions and comments.
We are. And tell us, how did we do? So we'd love to get some feedback from you. Robert is going to link a feedback survey in the chat. It'll take a very short time to fill it out. If you wouldn't mind doing that, it will help us make our shows better. And you can send us suggestions for future show topics so that we can keep making content that you guys are looking for and wanting to know more about. So you'll also get it via a link in tonight's program description. So if the chat closes before you're able to click it in the link in the chat, just access it there.
Yep. And if you filled it out previously, please still fill it out. Because we want to know how we can improve, and we want to know if we're improving. So if you filled out our survey before, keep going. We would love your ongoing feedback to be able to do that. So our next show is Monday. So it is next Monday, 1 week from now, at 7 p.m. Central, and we'll be telling you all about meteor showers that you might be able to observe in December and January. We would love to see you there. We hope we get some of the same people back, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you for joining us tonight, everyone, and please keep looking up. Thanks a lot.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.